At age 14, I found myself ready to swallow a bunch of prescription pills I had gathered from my Dr. Father's home medicine cabinet. It was a Friday night. I was home alone, expected to study and practice piano. I had 3 weeks left until I was participating in the largest piano competition of my life. I was a freshman in high school and also struggling in science. And I couldn't tell my parents that. I mean, what Asian kid struggles in science? I figured I'd take these pills, end my stress, the forever disappointing of my parents, and perhaps be left in a coma, not feel too much pain, and maybe even left brain damaged or brain dead. And that was the ultimate excuse. I was brain dead or brain damaged, and that's why I couldn't do anything right. It's a terrible feeling growing up believing you're not good enough and feeling so alone in your family because they made you feel that way. Don't get me wrong, I grew up in a loving Christian home. I did. But it was extremely stressful with such high expectations. I grew up in an extended family on my mother's side, and the third oldest of cousins that were brilliant, musically talented, academically gifted, and I was constantly compared to them and really never felt I could measure up because my parents would say that. And on these cousins, they were brilliant. I'm going to give them credit where credit's due. I'm talking that they would be performing with the state orchestra at the age of 11, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, or winning Odyssey of the Mind science competition and they were 8, or writing a book and they were in middle school, or having an IQ of 200 plus and graduating number one with the top at the top boarding school in the country, graduating 2 years early, having his pick of college, Harvard, Yale, Oxford, really. And then there was me. And at that point, I hadn't really won anything except the fourth grade spelling bee. And I hadn't won that. I tied for first place, actually, and won a box of homemade fudge. It was delicious, by the way. But being the third oldest, second oldest girl, I was always supposed to be the one to look up to, right? What have you achieved? What have you succeeded in? And obviously, there wasn't much. We had these annual family reunions every summer. They were terrible. I dreaded them so much that, I mean, who dreads a summer vacation as a child? Well, I did, and that's pretty sad. But these family reunions, they were all about the adults. I would call them brag fests or gag fests about which child had accomplished what they were playing, what they were performing, what their grades were. And that's what I would hear all week. It was awful. And then there was me. And I would hear occasionally, oh, Jeanie seems to be doing better. Or don't worry, you have Kathy. That's my younger sister, who apparently, according to the adults, my aunts and uncles and grandparents, that she was on the right trajectory, brilliant cellist, wonderful pianist, and, great grades. Not saying I didn't get the grades, but don't forget, I grew up in this high achieving family. By the way, overachievers is a severe underestimation of the word in my family. So there I was in those annual reunions that I would dread months ahead of time. But that's not all. Okay. At these reunions, we would have these performances, musical performances, 2-hour recitals, showing off piano, violin, cello, viola. And somehow the cousins would always bring their instruments to these summer breaks, okay? And then there would be a piano at these beach resorts, mountain resorts. I mean, I kid you not. Somehow the adults would find homes with a piano in them, so I couldn't even get out of that. And I would dread them so much, months ahead of time. I'd be dripping with sweat thinking about it, and even now it's been giving me heart palpitations because it was just a reminder that I wasn't good enough or performing to the level. Playing for my relatives, far worse than playing in an actual piano recital or competition. The judgment, that sharp eye was like piercing me here. And it's called nunchi in Korean, by the way. The way they would look at you all week, seeing how you measure up, doing well. How's your musical piece going? I would try to get out of these performances each year. Say something. Of course, I was the only child that would say something. And I couldn't get out of it because there was the piano and everyone had to perform. But after I got through it, I was so relieved that I was done, that I wouldn't really gather what they were telling me or process what was being told until afterwards or throughout the year. And then I would recall things like, well, polite claps, like, Jeanie seems to be getting better. Oh gosh, wow, my cousin, let's just call him John. Wow, you've mastered Rachmaninoff and you're only 10. You've memorized Mozart, you're reciting Shakespeare. These are to my other cousins, right? And then there was me. But when you're processing that throughout the year, all I felt was that burden of disappointment. And I don't fit in this family. They're too smart. average or below average. So there I was that fateful Friday night. I figured I need to end the stress. I'm tired of not feeling good enough and being told so. So why don't I take these pills and see what happens? I had handfuls of pills, 20 plus pills. They were white or cream colored, I recall, and I had a big jug of water ready to swallow them until something happened. As I brought them to my mouth, felt a little bit of them on my tongue, I heard the most comforting, sweet voice. Jeanie, go ahead and take those pills. You don't deserve the stress. Take those pills and everything's going to be just fine. I thought, oh, good, I'm getting a confirmation from God. And in that second, I faltered. One thought went zipping through my mind. I went in all the years of growing up in a Christian home and attending Sunday school, of course, I learned something about God, that He wouldn't want me to end my life, but live my best life, and that He would give me the strength to do so. And as I was ruminating on that, I saw my hands dropping with the pill still there. And that's when I felt it, my friends. The most loving, warm embrace from behind. I mean, it was the best back hug you'll ever get. In fact, I still can recall the heat radiating from it and the enormous amount of love that I felt. Gone was that overwhelming stress, fear, anxiety of not being good enough, really. And in its place was this strength. I envisioned actually at the time being Wonder Woman with my cape like this and my hair so pretty, and I could take on the world. As I felt the strength, I felt a tingling sensation, okay, going along my right hand and arm, and what happened next was surreal. I watched as I believe God led me to put all those pills back where they belonged, in a dozen or so pill bottles, and then putting it back into the home medicine cabinet. I know they were put back in the right place because my father used them as samples for his neurological patients. Don't ask me why they're at home. What happened next? As God's loving embrace slipped away, I felt a gentle push toward the piano. You can do this. And I went straight to the piano like the Energizer Bunny that kept going and going and going and going. And I sat down and practiced my heart out. I recall my parents and sister coming on. I'm like, hey, practicing piano. They were like, oh, okay, well, such energy. And I even went upstairs and it was on midnight. And I remember studying science going, okay, let me just work hard. Friends, I recall never thinking again I wasn't good enough, that I would just do my best. The next 3 weeks, I was a beast. I practiced up to 4 hours a day and studied homework 2 hours a day. And again, I was so focused on, I'm going to do my best. I have the strength to do so. Again, no fear, no anxiety of not feeling good enough. Friends, my Christian faith is what saved me that night. It helped me distinguish the voice that I heard was not from God. My Christian faith is what grounds me today. Those years of attending Sunday school, I realized I formulated a firm belief in who He is. Number one, I am unique in His eyes. He doesn't compare me to anyone else. 2, He doesn't care about A's, accomplishments. I'm already accomplished in His success. And 3, He will give me the strength to do anything I need to do. That piano competition, I was runner-up. It was one of the best performances of my life. In science, well, I learned early on in high school that it was never going to be one of my best subjects. But each of my 4 kids are showing a penchant for science. 2 of them are even majoring in it in college. My journey continues today as Tiger Mom 2.0.